Hi, I'm Kendra with ScrappinCricut and Mixology Crafts, and I'm glad that you're with me today, and we're going to be going over the Cricut Expression 2, some of the features and the different things that you can do in it. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to show you is how to put an image on a screen. So you're going to select the image button. It's the little star with a plus. Once you've selected that, your overlay is going to come up. And right now I have an Imagine cartridge in there. If you don't want the Imagine cartridge, you can just select the little image that looks like a cartridge. And then we're just going to go to the alphabet. Right here, these are the preloaded cartridges. Now, we're going to cut out the name Annika. So I want to go up here to Font 1. And I want it uppercase A. You're going to hit your shift and you're going to get your A. Take your shift off. And then we're going to type in N-I-K-A. Annika. So once you have that, say I want to put another image on there that's not from this cartridge. So I'm going to go over to like where you get your cartridges from. And I'm going to choose the cartridge this time. It has Art Nouveau in it. And I want the B. And then I'm going to hit the home screen key, which is going to save this. Now you're going to notice here that the screen is kind of grayed out. That's because it is too large of an image for what's on here. So we're going to go to our Tools section. And you're going to page over twice. And you're going to choose this thing that looks like a globe. I call it global settings or the global settings. If you look in the Cricut book, it actually says apply all, but it reminds me of a globe, so that's why I've kind of given it that nickname. But this right here says it's 10.25 inches, so we're going to shrink this down. And I think we're going to do maybe 3 inches, 3.5. Let's do 3 inches and save it. We now have Annika's name and a B on here. Now if I wanted this B a little bit bigger, then I can touch it. And you're going to get kind of like handlebars that come up, like in Design Studio is kind of what I think of it. You're telling this image what to do. So you could copy this image, you can delete it, or we can edit it. And we're going to edit it by hitting that little pencil. Now there's different things that you can do in the editing. You can turn it by 90-degree increments. You can turn it upside down. And you can make it go flipped. But what I actually want to do is use this little button. And this is how you can resize it individually. So say I want this to be 4.5 inches tall. I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to hit the save button again. And my little B is going to end up being 4.5 inches tall. So I just cut this and it would all cut out of the same color and that would be no problem. Now if I were wanting these on separate pages, if I wanted the name Annika in one color and the B in another, let's go back in. Let's hit our home screen again. Let's go back in here and edit this. One thing that you can do to make things go on a different color or a different page is in between wherever you're wanting to have those color separations, you can do a hard return, which is this little arrow right down here. If you do a double hard return and save, let's see what happens. It's going to put it on a new page. So right now you'll see this says 2 of 2. If I use the arrow back, it's going to be her name on one page. And if I arrow forward, it will be the B on the next page. Let's try one other way of doing this. Let's take one of those hard returns out and save it and just see what happens. It may still put it on the next page or it may drop that down to a new line. Let's try it. Okay, it's dropping it down to a new line, but really not far enough that you could add 2 colors. So you're probably going to want a double return there. Let's go back in there and put that double return in. And then we can save it. Now, another thing that you can do is change your kerning on this. So let's go back in here just one moment and let's take these double returns out. Save it because I want this on one mat just so you can see. And then we're going to go back into our tools, page over twice, into our settings, our apply alls. And the KE right here, this means kerning. And the kerning is the amount of space between your letters. So we're going to do 1.5 inches. So when I put this back on the mat, all my letters are going to have a 1.5 inch space between them. Can you all see that? The larger amount of space there. So when you've got, say you're doing a paper doll and you're trying to do its hair, its clothes, all these different items for it, if you'll do your kerning space, it's going to allow you to be able to put those papers on your mat separated and still be able to cut. Now, for instance, with this particular one, let's go back in here for back to the home screen and then into your editing area. And we're going to do a double hard return between the I and the K and go back to the main screen. And let's go back to this first screen. Okay, can you see how this did? A-N-I-K-A. I could cut these letters out of 5 different colored cardstocks and have no problem putting those on my machine. Now, let's go look at some of our other settings. Let's see. Let's come into our home setting, and just for right now, we're just going to go in here and we're just going to erase everything. Or you can just hit the X. And then we're just going to put that B back on here and then save. Okay. With this B, we're going to see what all you can do with it. So go into your tools, and this is art quantity. It's kind of like the dotted circles. And if I were to put 2 on there and then save, you're going to see that 2 of these B's pop up on here. That's art quantity. The next one to it is project quantity. And you can go all the way to 9 of these. And so if you have like a page on your mat, like your mat, and you want 9 of that same page cut, that is where you would choose it. And whenever you go to cut, it's going to prompt you to insert the next mat, to insert the next mat, and the next mat, and the next mat, until you've done all 9 of your mats. Now the ABC with the up and down arrows, if you'll click that, that is going to be your fit to page. Let's take that off for a moment. And then this is autofill. It kind of reminds me of a muffin tin. And as you can see, for the size B we have, you can't get that many B's on here. Let's just real quick edit this down to a little bit smaller of a size. Let's do a 2.5 inch. Save that. Let's turn that on. And then you're going to see, and this still has my 1.5 inch kerning in here. So if you're doing an autofill, you probably do not want your kerning on. It's just going to waste your paper. Let's page over 1. This is where you select your mat size. You have 12 by 12, 12 by 24, and 24 by 12. And depending on what you're doing, like with autofill, my recommendation is to go between the two to see which, like if you have the 12 by 24 paper and you have a 12 by 24 mat, it makes sense to toggle between the two to see which one is going to be the most cost-effective paper-wise for you to use. But for right now, we'll just say with the, well actually let's show you what this looks like. Here's the 24 by 12. Let's go back in, and this is the 12 by 24. But for right now, we're just going to leave our 12 by 12 up there. This right here is where you select your paper size. So if I only have a 6 by 6 inch piece of paper, that's the only paper I have, I'm going to save that. You're going to notice that the areas that you cannot use are grayed out, and this is whited out. Now what's really neat about this is you can come over here to the Fit to Page now and click this Fit to Page, and it's only going to go as big as that 6 by 6 inch will allow you to. Let's go back over to our paper. Hang on, let's just revert it. It goes back to 12 by 12 and then save it. So we're back to our 12 by 12 paper. Now another really neat feature on here is the center point. And a lot of people ask about how this works, and let's see if we can explain. You have a start point and then a center point. So if we're going to put our center point on, and you're going to notice that this goes off the page. So you're going to come over to your start point, and let's go down to, let's go down 3 inches, 3.5 inches. And then we're going to save it. Once that does that, you're going to notice that this center of this is 3.5 inches down, 3.5 inches over. So you're using these two features in conjunction with each other. You can't just use center point by itself, and the start point you actually can use by itself, but you're going to notice that that's where your page is actually starting. So let's revert that back just so we can go to our next thing. That should pop that back up in the corner. Then use the next page over. This is fit to length, and you're going to select this, and then it's going to ask you how long do you want this to be. This right here says 10 inches. Let's save it. This is now 10 inches from wingtip to wingtip. So this is really, the fit to length is great for phrases and titles, like for walls. You can do, I think, up to 6 pages. So you can do up to 12 feet of length for a quote. So you could do Mary Had a Little Lamb across a nursery wall by using fit to length. Now, when you do that, make sure you put your spaces in between your letters. So if you were to do that, let's go back in here. We're going to go back to our image selecting area, and we're going to go to an alphabet, and we're going to type girls rule. Let's do girls rule. G-I-R. Oops, I think I just put a 4 on there. Nope, I didn't. R-L. It's kind of hard to see upside down. Let's see, the S is here. And then this is a space. That's a space. You see that? Girls, space. And then we're going to go rule. It is R. I didn't really forget how to spell. I just couldn't find it. Upside down. R-U-L. There it is. Girls rule. And then we're going to put this on our mat. Now remember, I still have the kerning on, and we totally do not want the kerning on right now. So come over here in your settings, your tools, go to your global, and we're going to remove our kerning down to 0 and save. Another feature you may want to change is we want to make sure we have just normal ABCs. Save. Okay, here's the girls rule. And if I wanted this fit to length, say if I wanted this 2 feet, and save this, this is going to adjust my letters to the size that they need to be. You'll notice right here's my space, so it's leaving my spacing in here. And this is exactly what we want. Let me see something here. Okay, yeah, those are 3 1/4 inches. Let me show you that one more time. If you touch the letter, okay, right here, it's coming in here. You see that 3.25? That's the size of the individual letter. So I can now put this on a wall, and it would go 2 feet across with my space. Let's go back real quick and remove this. Let's just put the letter A up there for right now. Okay, let's go back into our settings, page over a couple. Of course, I showed you the global settings. This is your size. This is your kerning. Remember, that's the space between your letters. You can do the letters where they're on the line. You can do real dial size. And this right here would be what was paper saver before. You can make them all flipped upside down or not. You can make them all flipped side to side or not. And you can make them all turn 90 degrees globally. So if I were to turn this 90 degrees and save it, you notice it just turned my letter 90 degrees. If that's not the way I wanted it, say I wanted it upside down and save it, my letter is now upside down. So whatever you do here, these are global settings. This is going to be apply all. This is for the entire everything you put on your mat unless you edit it individually. Now this right here, these are whether or not you want your light on during cutting, always on or always off. I have it on during cutting just to save having it on all the time, but you don't have to. You also had a choice between 1/4 inch and 1/10 inch. I like the 1/10 inch just because sometimes I need a more precise size cut, and it lets me get closer to the exact size that I want. You can also choose between millimeters and centimeters. But for right now, we'll just leave it on the 1/4 inch and save it. Let's go over one more page. This is how you can add media. So for instance, I have added American Craft, I have added basil, heavy chipboard, and heavy paper. The way you do this is very easy. You're just going to select the little plus right here and it's going to come up a screen. Let's do coordinations. We'll do just CC for coordinations cardstock and then save it. And I know that coordinations is a heavier cardstock, so I'm going to touch this is the speed, this is pressure. Let's increase our pressure, and the original blade will be at 6. This is multi-cut. Now when you're cutting cardstock, honestly, I know some people say you should multi-cut cardstock. I have never, ever in the 5 years that I have been using a Cricut, ever had to use multi-cut on cardstock. So just use a heavier pressure, a deeper blade, but you should not have to use multi-cut on cardstock. But let's go back in here, and now I have CC listed for coordinations cardstock. You even have like the vinyl kiss cut, so it doesn't cut all the way through your vinyl. So these are some of the really nice things. You can also individually select which blade you want to use. So you've got all your different blades, and you can add blades. And that is pretty simple too. And I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. To add a blade, you're going to hit the little blade housing. And then you would do the blade plus. And you could do deep blade 3. And then save this. And now I have the original blade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, deep cut blade 1, 2, and deep cut blade 3. So that's how you can work that. And if I don't want this right here anymore, say I don't want this particular one, I can get rid of it. You also have your end user licensing agreement, your warranty, and you can calibrate your screen. In calibrating your screen, you're just going to touch the screen, and you're just going to touch these crosshairs. You want to touch the crosshairs. That's how you calibrate your screen. Let's go back to the beginning. Now, this is how you would load your mat for your project. Same thing as unload. And how you cut. And when you cut, it's going to ask you what kind of material are you using. So if we're doing heavy paper, you would hit that and save it. And you would load your mat. And then you would cut. And I don't have paper or a mat loaded right now, or else I would do it. Another thing I wanted to show you real quick that I know I just realized we skipped over is your load last button. A lot of times when you cut, if all of a sudden your mat goes in where you didn't think it was going to go in, make sure this isn't checked. Or if you want it to load last, you can load last. But a lot of times I'm using single colors on a sheet, and I don't want it to load last. So I just have to come in here and remember to take the load last off. So I hope this little demo has helped. There's a couple little other things I want to show you. Let's come right over here. You have a home button. So if I'm in the tool section, as you can see right here, I'm in the tool section. If I click this button, it immediately takes me back to the home screen. Also, here in the image button, if I'm trying to see something, there's a button right here. It kind of looks like a, y'all see that? It looks like a little magnifying glass. If I hold that down and then tap something on the screen, you can see it allows this image to become big enough that I can see what I'm selecting. So some of your things are kind of small on here, but if you just hit this button and tap the screen, that will take care of it. The way you get rid of this is either to tap your screen, or let's do another one. Or you can just tap the button again and it takes it away. Another really nice feature of this machine is when you're cutting, if I know for me, every once in a while I have like a little burr or those little tiny circles. Sometimes my blade will pick up one of those little circles and kind of messes up my cut. If that happens, you now have a pause button right here, a little pause button. Let me hold that up so y'all can see. There's a pause button. How great is that? I'm so excited. So that will allow you to stop cutting during the cutting process. I appreciate everyone coming and kind of looking around at this machine. The cartridges on this machine come preloaded with the, let's see, the Cricut American Alphabet, as well as the Cricut Essentials and Art Nouveau comes with it, as well as Spring Fever. I do not have Spring Fever to show you, but Art Nouveau, Spring Fever, Cricut Essentials, and the Cricut American Alphabet come with the HSN bundle. The Cricut Expression 2 Anniversary Edition came with a different set of cartridges, and from what I hear, there's going to be a few other bundles available in the near future. So thanks for watching, and come visit us at www.mixologycrafts.wordpress.com. And I'm Kendra, aka Scrappin' Cricut, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.